Hey ladies and gents, it's Zen back again, and we are going over to the update 2.0.5. If you haven't seen this, it should have popped up in your Wargaming Center about what's the new patch coming, and it's coming out June 14th. I think Poison said something about it was coming out in like today for them. Um, yeah, because they're at the 13th right now, so they're gonna get it. They're gonna get it already, I think, before we do. So yeah, servers will undergo maintenance on June 14th, blah blah blah. Alright, so what about the patch? After reading it, I'm disappointed. Maybe that's a better word for it. Uh, I don't agree with it, with the direction they're taking it with it. This is kind of like selling 9-point pilots in packages, that kind of thing. Uh, or bonds in World of Tanks. If you've ever played World of Tanks, you know what I'm talking about with the bond system they brought out a year ago or whatever it was, where you win bonds in the game and you're able to buy certificates that give you a significant advantage equipment-wise on your tanks, or you can actually buy bond equipment that once again gives you an advantage over a regular tank. Now, however, to get the bonds in World of Tanks, you have to play at a pretty much a certain level, or you have to play the game so much, constantly grinding for them to receive them. So, and this is kind of what I'm seeing. Of course, this is not exactly like the bond system in tanks. Don't take that as I'm saying that this is exactly like the bond system. But it's just another thing that they've added to the game that rewards the top end players with better equipment, better planes, and that kind of thing. While it kind of leaves everybody else either struggling to get to that point or never getting to it at all. Um, and that's the problem I have. You know, in World of Tanks, I don't have a problem getting bonds, but you know, if you play with somebody that's starting out, or you know, that doesn't run a 52, 53, 54, 55% win rates, uh, they're not going to get the bonds. You know, they're always going to struggle to keep that bonds production of bonds going, that they can get the certificates and the equipment. And all the bonds give significant increases in camo, reload, aim time, all that kind of stuff that you can pile on, and it just makes a player makes the tank just that much better. I didn't agree with it when it first came out, and now I see that what they're doing with World of Warplanes, and I'm kind of questioning why. You know, I'm going to go through this. I'm not going to get in depth with it because I want to wait till the actual patch comes out and I can see this stuff in the garage. I mean, they can write all this stuff out and then I can show it in the pictographs and all that stuff, but I want to actually see it in the garage and play with it before I do a video on it. So I will do a video after the patch comes out, before I go through the equipment and the customization and all this new stuff that they're adding to it. But we're just going to do a quick overview of the actual patch notes and go through it, and I can, you know, kind of give you my opinion on why this is not a good deal in my whatever. So with this aircraft progression system was significantly expanded. It will consist of two stages: aircraft configuration improvements and equipment development. What really kind of bothered me is when I first read it was this specialist configuration, and it's going to require special missions to complete to get a specialist configuration. Now, and I'm not going to make a pass judgment until I see the missions, but to me, once again, depending on how the missions are, I mean, this is going to be like Object 250, or like this is going to be T55A, Object 260 type of missions that you had in World of Tanks. If they're going to do that, once again, you're segregating a certain portion of the population that are never going to get those tanks, and in Warplanes, you're never going to get these specialist configurations, right? To me, that doesn't seem like that's an imbalance, right? You're going to have a certain number of players that are going to get these tanks, or now planes, because of the way they play. So you're widening the imbalance that was already there. To me, that just doesn't seem fair or right in general, because whatever. I mean, we can argue back and forth. People are going to disagree with me and think I'm being an asshole about this, but I've always had a problem with this. You don't want to. People always say, "Well, pay to win." Well, is it pay to win now? I mean, we're not paying for it, but you're setting essentially a bar, and if you don't reach that bar, you don't get the special planes. To me, that seems a little bit, once again, this is a free-to-play game. Everybody should have a chance to have that, and then they're going to give you missions, and like I said, I'm not going to pass judgment until I see the missions. But if the missions are something stupid, ridiculously hard, that you're going to have a problem doing them, you're going to see this imbalance where you're only going to see the good players get this specialist aircraft, and you're going to see the other 75% of the players that are not going to see the specialist configuration. Which I have a problem with is because the specialist configuration gives you a decided advantage in that aircraft over a stock version of that, which is even more humorous because as you get further, and I'll get further down into the deal when I'm talking about it, this is one of the most glaring things that I have a problem with, is the Period 1, Period 2, Period 3 they've split the aircraft into. And it's historically... the periods are split historically, so I'm assuming 30s aircraft, 40s aircraft, and 50s aircraft. I'm assuming that's probably how the split's going to be. With the jet fighters, they're going to have they're going to be Period 3 maybe. BF-109 Spitfires are going to be Period 4, and then you're going to have like the I-16s and that stuff are going to be Period 1. But the problem is with a two-tier spread, you're going to have a crossover there somewhere, right? And we'll get into that a little bit here as I get down here. Now, not only are you, once you get the specialist, with the specialist configuration, many more equipment and consumables can be mounted on an aircraft in the specialist configuration. So once you get the specialist aircraft, you're already able to mount more equipment and more consumables. So you're making that aircraft that much better. Once again, you are, kicking that player who already obviously completed the missions. And probably for most part, I can't say once again because I don't know what the missions are going to be. But it's going to be leaning toward the upper quarter of the population of players that are going to get this aircraft. And depending on what the missions are, there might be a lot of players that were never going to get a specialist aircraft. And that's going to create this imbalance, which is going to create frustration in players. I don't understand why people don't get this. When you create an imbalance like that, you created a frustration in players that don't get it, right? They want to play the game, they want to have fun, but when they're going into a match where they're running into a player that's flying a specialist aircraft with more consumables, more equipment, and they're just getting raffle stomped, guess what? People just stop playing the game. You've seen it in tanks with bonds. There was 25 people that quit because of the bond deal. They're just done because they knew that they were never going to get that bonds. But you're going to see this here in World of Warplanes now. You're like, okay, why the fuck, why? So, all aircraft, equipment, consumables, including items, are now divided into 3 historic periods. So now this is the problem I have about historic periods: Period 1, Period 2, Period 3. 2-tier spread. So now, say you are a Period 3 aircraft and you're flying in a Period 2 game because of the 2-tier spread, and you're flying a specialist aircraft. Yeah, you're already at an advantage because you're a higher tier, and now you're a specialist. So now once again, you're down tiered against, you're a 7 and you're down tiered against an 8, who is a specialist. It just you're causing frustration in a lot of players here, and I just don't get why they decided to go with this format. Is this something that, I get it in World of Warplanes, World of Tanks, and World of Warships, all kind of have something like this in it already, but this is frustration 101 right here, is creating more of an imbalance than there already is. Besides with the flights and the 9-point cap, pilots and all that stuff that they did, but this is just another point of frustration as far as I'm concerned. Now, I'm not going to get into this stuff until the actual patch comes out and I can actually play with it in Garage. But the other problem I have with this is, of course, the equipment enhancement. And you guys can go check this out on the World of Warplanes webpage. So the equipment enhancement and equipment calibration, you only get the equipment enhancement of the advanced and ultimate equipment can only be activated on aircraft in the specialist configuration. Once again, as long as you have a specialist aircraft, you're fine. But if you never get that, you don't get the equipment enhancement. Equipment calibration. It requires materials for you to calibrate the equipment to a high, improving the values of both positive and negative characteristics. Blah, blah, blah. But to get that, enhancing and calibrating equipment requires special materials that can only be obtained when you win. Once again, you're creating an imbalance. That player that's not winning at 65, 60, 65, 70% of the time, they're only winning at 50% of the time or less, it's going to take they'll have to, I get it, Wargaming wants you to play your game, but if you're going to have to sit there and grind to get the same thing, to get into an aircraft that you're going to be able to fight other planes in the specialist configuration, it's just going to cause frustration. It's just going to cause more almost anger, because you're always going to be fighting you're going to be fighting down tier, and you're going to be fighting against aircraft that are just so much better than your own. I don't get it. This is a frustration coming to no end. I'm just floored by the fact that they're going to be pulling this off. Equipment and consumable migration, blah, blah, blah. So essentially you're going to start all over. You're going to have to put all your stock equipment, your equipment back on your planes, blah, blah. Same thing they do every time they pull one of these things, as annoying as hell. So you're going to have to go through every one of your aircraft and re-equip it and start from, scratch, blah. So same with the old equipment and consumables that have no equivalents in the new system. Whatever. You can read that later. Aircraft balance. Change the damage setting for pilots, so now you don't get shot from the rear and your pilot gets killed. Now they actually have to be, sounds like they have to be somewhat firing from the upper hemisphere and very little injury conflicted to the firing by the pilot if they're firing from below. Nice, like that. Added a slight chance of getting set on fire by firing with regular ammunition. Updated the damage models. Yay, the Corsairs don't have to fucking be on fire all the time. New special reward aircraft. I'm not even sure what that's all about. The Yak 3RT, from what I understand when I looked it up, has 137 and 220 millimeters. I'm not sure how we're going to get the rewards. It's your 7 fighter. New aircraft available for developers to super test. The Vampire. Battle replays are finally up and running. The fact that it took you a better part of 6 months, if not longer. 6 months roughly, maybe a little bit longer than that, to get the battle replays up. So now if you get some battles, send it to me on the email, and I'll try to get up and do some commentary if you don't mind me doing that, and we'll see what we can do with that. Manage replays. There's a couple things they're doing there. Whatever. Bot behavior algorithms. Fix bugs that reduce performance of bombers controlled by bots, which is the only fix that they talk about with bugs. This fucking blows my mind, really. I'm sure there's going to be bugs with this new... You can tell there's a lot of frustration in my voice because I just don't get it. Whatever. Game locations, a couple maps are going to be rebalanced. Some of them are going to be taken out. Some of them are increased in battle tier. Graphics, because implemented the visual effects of aircraft acceleration, deceleration, because we needed that instead of fixing your FPS problems and all the other shit that... people complain about in forums. Interface. This is kind of nice. Now when you change and add equipment, that actually shows you what you do. It changes the characteristics of the aircraft, and you can actually see it. You don't have to sit there with your calculator and figure out what 3% of 84 is and have to add it up and all that kind of stuff. This is actually going to be pretty nice if this actually works. We'll see, like I said, once in the garage, we'll go over how these new characteristics are showing up and all that kind of stuff. Modules. Now it's displayed with different icons for rapid firing, long range, and high power, large caliber autocannons. Nice. And we could change languages and the miscellaneous reset control settings to all control schemes due to changes in the number of slots, consumables, and increase in the number of active consumables. Yay. So, but like I said, fuck this. I just don't get it. Why do you want to create more of an imbalance than there already is? Now you add a flight into this imbalance. Now you have 2 people running the, whatever they call it now, the specialist configuration. I just don't get it. Is this another attempt to run more players off of the game? Honestly, that's what it is. Causing frustration in a video game is the reason why you lose players, and that's everything from bugs to shit like this. You know, World of Tanks did it with the bonds, premium consumables, premium ammo, all that stuff was a cause of frustration. I mean, even in this game, the premium, the universal ammo, to a certain degree, is stupid because the amount of damage, crit hits, and fires that you cause. You know, with the reload time and the consumables and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's becoming, especially when some of the stuff is still paid for gold, if not gold, silver. If you're not making money to fund that, then you have to buy silver from actually pay money to get the silver and gold to keep the consumables rolling. It's just it's an all-around bad deal. I'm sorry. I'm just ranting and raving here because I just see another deal that's just going to cause more frustration for players and whatnot. So that's my take on Update 2.05. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really do. I hope that we don't see this imbalance that's going to happen. I'm being optimistic here. I just hope we don't see it. I really, really don't. I really hate to see more players driven away from this game because somebody thought this was a good idea. So that's my rant, my raving, my opinion on this. Like I said, people are going to agree with me. I don't really care. People are going to disagree with me. I really don't give a fuck if you do or not. It's entirely your opinion. But like I said, after playing years of wargaming products and seeing this in their other games, it's just a shit show of frustration. So with that said, thanks for watching, guys, and hope you guys have a good night.